Isabella Martinez adjusted her black evening dress one more time as she stood at the entrance of the Grand Bellezza Hotel. The charity gala was already in full swing, and she could hear the soft classical music drifting through the massive oak doors. She wasn't supposed to be here tonight. Her boss at the law firm had fallen ill at the last minute, and Isabella had been chosen to represent the company at this high-profile event. The ballroom was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over hundreds of elegantly dressed guests. Isabella felt slightly out of place among the city's elite, but she held her head high and grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. She had worked hard to get where she was, and she deserved to be here as much as anyone else. As she moved through the crowd, Isabella couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. She glanced around but saw only familiar faces from the business world, CEOs, politicians, and philanthropists, all engaged in animated conversations. She dismissed the feeling and focused on networking, which was why she was here after all. 20 minutes into the event, Isabella found herself near the auction display, admiring a beautiful Renaissance painting that was up for bid. She was so absorbed in studying the brushwork that she didn't notice the man approaching until he spoke. "It's a fake," a deep voice said beside her. Isabella turned to see a tall man in an impeccably tailored black suit. He had dark hair, intense brown eyes, and a slight scar above his left eyebrow that somehow made him more attractive rather than less. There was something commanding about his presence that made the busy room seem to fade into the background. "Excuse me?" Isabella said, caught off guard. "The painting," he said with a slight smile. "It's a very good reproduction, but it's not authentic. The brush strokes are too uniform, and the aging on the canvas is artificial." Isabella looked back at the painting, then at the man. "That's quite an accusation. This is supposed to be verified by experts." "Supposed to be," he agreed, his eyes never leaving her face. "But even experts can be persuaded." There was something in the way he said it that sent a small shiver down Isabella's spine. She took a sip of her champagne to cover her sudden nervousness. "I'm Isabella," she said, extending her hand. He took it, and instead of shaking it, he lifted it to his lips and placed a gentle kiss on her knuckles. It was an old-fashioned gesture that should have seemed ridiculous in the modern setting, but somehow he made it seem natural. "Vincent," he said simply. "Vincent Rossi." The name meant nothing to Isabella, but she noticed how a couple passing by gave Vincent a wide berth, and how conversation seemed to quiet slightly when he was near. She wondered if he was some kind of celebrity she didn't recognize. "Are you an art expert, Mr. Rossi?" Isabella asked, genuinely curious now. "Among other things," Vincent replied. "I collect beautiful things." The way he looked at her when he said it made Isabella's cheeks warm. She wasn't used to such direct attention, especially not from men who looked like they'd stepped out of a movie screen. "And what brings you to the charity gala?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation to safer ground. "Business," he said, then paused. "But suddenly I find myself thinking more about pleasure." Isabella laughed nervously. "That's quite a line." "It's not a line," Vincent said, his expression serious. "I don't say things I don't mean." Before Isabella could respond, a man in a gray suit appeared at Vincent's elbow. He leaned in and whispered something that made Vincent's jaw tighten slightly. "I apologize," Vincent said to Isabella. "I have to handle something, but I'd very much like to continue our conversation. Have dinner with me tomorrow night." I don't even know you," Isabella said, flustered. "Then that's what dinner is for," Vincent said with a smile that transformed his serious face. 8 o'clock. I'll send a car." "But you don't know where I live," Isabella protested. Vincent's smile widened slightly. 8 o'clock, he repeated, then turned and walked away with the man in gray, leaving Isabella standing there with her mouth slightly open. She spent the rest of the evening trying to focus on networking, but her eyes kept searching for Vincent in the crowd. He seemed to have disappeared completely after their encounter. When she asked a colleague about Vincent Rossi, the woman's face went pale. "You were talking to Vincent Rossi?" she whispered. "Isabella, be careful. That man is, well, let's just say his business interests aren't entirely legal." Isabella felt her stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "I mean, he's connected. Mafia connected. The Rossi family controls half the city's underground. They're untouchable." Isabella's mind raced. The commanding presence, the way people gave him space, the cryptic comments about persuading experts, it all suddenly made sense. She had just flirted with a mob boss. The next day at work, Isabella tried to put Vincent out of her mind. She had no intention of having dinner with a criminal, no matter how attractive he was. But as evening approached, she found herself growing nervous. What if he actually did know where she lived? What if refusing his invitation was dangerous? At 7:45 p.m., her doorbell rang. Isabella's heart pounded as she looked through the peephole to see a uniformed driver standing outside. "Ms. Martinez? Mr. Rossi sent me to collect you for dinner." Isabella's hands trembled slightly. How had he found her address? She thought about refusing, but something, curiosity, fear, or perhaps a bit of both, made her open the door. "I need a few minutes," she heard herself saying. "Of course, ma'am. I'll wait in the car." Isabella closed the door and leaned against it. What was she doing? She was a lawyer, for heaven's sake. She upheld the law. She didn't have dinner with people who broke it. But even as she thought this, she found herself walking to her bedroom to change. She chose a simple but elegant blue dress and tried to calm her nerves. She was just going to dinner. She would be polite but distant, make it clear she wasn't interested, and that would be the end of it. She grabbed her phone, making sure it was fully charged, and sent her location to her best friend with a message. "If you don't hear from me by midnight, call the police." The driver was professional and courteous, opening the door of a sleek black Mercedes for her. They drove through the city to one of the most exclusive restaurants Isabella had ever seen. She'd read about this place. Reservations were booked months in advance, and the waiting list was legendary. Vincent was waiting at a private table on the terrace, overlooking the city lights. He stood when he saw her, and Isabella was struck again by how commanding his presence was. He was wearing another perfectly tailored suit, this time in charcoal gray, and his eyes lit up when he saw her. "You came," he said, seeming genuinely pleased. "Did I have a choice?" Isabella asked, trying to keep her voice light. Vincent's expression grew serious. "There's always a choice, Isabella. Always." He pulled out her chair for her, another old-fashioned gesture that seemed natural coming from him. As they sat down, Isabella noticed they were completely alone on the terrace, despite it being prime dining time. "Did you buy out the entire terrace?" she asked. "I prefer privacy for important conversations," Vincent said simply. A waiter appeared as if from thin air, pouring wine and presenting menus. Isabella noticed he was nervous, his hands shaking slightly as he served them. "Relax, Anthony," Vincent said kindly. "Everything is perfect." The waiter visibly relaxed and smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Rossi. The chef has prepared something special for you tonight." After the waiter left, Isabella studied Vincent. "Your employees seem terrified of you." "Anthony isn't my employee," Vincent said, "and he's not terrified. He's just respectful. His son had some trouble last year. I helped." "What kind of trouble?" "The kind that young men sometimes find in bad neighborhoods," Vincent said carefully. "I made sure he got home safely." Isabella sipped her wine, trying to process this. "And in return, Anthony is nervous around you forever?" "In return, Anthony's son is alive and in college instead of dead in an alley," Vincent said bluntly. Anthony is grateful, not scared. There's a difference. The directness of his words shocked Isabella. She wasn't used to people speaking so openly about violence and death. I know who you are, she said suddenly. What you are? Vincent leaned back in his chair, studying her. And what am I? You're Vincent Rossi. Your family is connected. A smile played at the corner of Vincent's mouth. Connected. That's a polite way of putting it. Why did you invite me to dinner? Isabella asked. Why me? Because, Vincent said, leaning forward, in a room full of people trying to get my attention, you were the only one who didn't know who I was. You talked to me like I was just a man, not Vincent Rossi. Do you know how rare that is? Isabella felt a flutter in her stomach. And now that I do know? Now you're here anyway, Vincent said. Which tells me you're either very brave or very curious. Maybe I'm just very stupid, Isabella said. Vincent laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. You're a corporate lawyer with a Columbia Law degree who graduated summa cum laude. You're many things, Isabella, but stupid isn't one of them. Isabella's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. How do you know that? I make it my business to know about the people in my life, Vincent said simply. I'm not in your life, Isabella protested. We just met yesterday. Yet here you are, Vincent pointed out. The waiter returned with their first course, and Isabella had to admit the food was exceptional. As they ate, Vincent proved to be an engaging conversationalist. He was intelligent, well-read, and had a dry sense of humor that kept catching her off guard. If she didn't know what he was, she would have thoroughly enjoyed herself. Tell me about your family, Vincent said as their main course arrived. Not much to tell, Isabella said. My parents immigrated from Mexico when I was 3. My father worked construction, my mother cleaned houses. They saved every penny to put me through school. They must be proud, Vincent said. They were, Isabella said quietly. They died in a car accident 5 years ago. Vincent reached across the table and touched her hand gently. I'm sorry. The sincerity in his voice surprised her. What about your family? Vincent's expression hardened slightly. My family is complicated. That's one way to describe organized crime, Isabella said before she could stop herself. Vincent withdrew his hand. Is that what you think? That we're just criminals? Aren't you? Vincent was quiet for a moment. My grandfather came to this country with nothing. He built a business, yes, outside the law, because the law wasn't designed to protect people like us. The police didn't care if Italian immigrants were robbed or killed. So we protected ourselves. We protected our community. And now? Isabella asked. Now it's different, Vincent admitted. Now it's about power and money more than protection. But there are still rules, still honor. We don't hurt innocents. We don't deal in drugs that destroy communities. We're not the monsters you see in movies. You're still criminals, Isabella said softly. Yes, Vincent agreed simply. We are. His honesty disarmed her. She had expected denials or justifications, not this straightforward admission. So where does that leave us? She asked. That depends, Vincent said. Can you see past what I am to who I am? I don't know, Isabella said honestly. I don't know if those things can be separated. Then let me show you, Vincent said. Give me a chance to prove that there's more to me than my last name. Isabella knew she should say no. Every logical part of her brain was screaming at her to walk away. But there was something about Vincent that drew her in. Maybe it was his honesty, or the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the world, or simply the danger he represented. One more date, she heard herself saying. That's all I'm promising. Vincent smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. One more date, he agreed. As the evening wound down, Vincent insisted on walking her to the car himself. As they stood by the Mercedes, he turned to her. "I want to be clear about something," he said. "Being with me comes with complications. There are people who would try to hurt me through you. There are parts of my life I can never fully share. There are dangers I can't always predict. If you choose to see me again, you need to understand that." Isabella's heart was racing. "Are you trying to scare me off?" "I'm trying to be honest," Vincent said. "I've never lied to you, Isabella. I never will." She believed him, which might have been the most dangerous thing of all. "Saturday," she said. "You can take me to lunch, somewhere public with lots of witnesses." Vincent laughed. "Witnesses? You watch too many movies." "Maybe," Isabella said. "But Saturday, lunch, take it or leave it." "I'll take it," Vincent said. He leaned down and kissed her cheek, his lips barely brushing her skin. "Good night, Isabella." As the car drove her home, Isabella touched her cheek where he had kissed her. What was she doing? She was a lawyer, getting involved with a mob boss. It was career suicide at best, actual suicide at worst. But she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward Vincent Rossi. Her phone buzzed with a text from her friend asking if she was okay. Isabella typed back that she was fine, though she wasn't sure that was true. She was falling for a dangerous man, and she wasn't sure she wanted to stop. The next day at work, Isabella found it hard to concentrate. She kept thinking about Vincent, about the way he had looked at her, about his warnings. Her colleague Sarah noticed her distraction. "Okay, Spill," Sarah said, cornering her in the break room. "You've been spacey all day." "It's nothing," Isabella said. "Just dating stuff." "Oh my God, you met someone," Sarah squealed. "Who is he?" Isabella hesitated. She couldn't exactly tell her coworker she was dating a Mafia boss. "Just a guy. We'll see where it goes." But Sarah was persistent, and eventually Isabella admitted she had met someone at the charity gala. She left out his last name and his connections, describing him simply as a businessman. "He sounds intense," Sarah said after Isabella described their dinner. "Be careful, Bella. Intense guys can be trouble." If only she knew, Isabella thought. As Saturday approached, Isabella found herself both dreading and anticipating her lunch with Vincent. She changed her outfit 3 times before settling on a casual sundress that was appropriate for a daytime date. Vincent picked her up himself this time, driving a less conspicuous BMW. He was dressed more casually, too, in dark jeans and a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. It was the first time Isabella had seen him in anything other than a suit, and somehow he looked even more attractive. "You look beautiful," he said as she got in the car. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Isabella said, trying to keep things light. He took her to a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, family-owned and bustling with activity. As they walked in, the elderly owner rushed over, speaking rapid Italian and embracing Vincent warmly. "This is my Uncle Sal," Vincent explained after introducing Isabella. "Not my real uncle, but he's known me since I was born." Sal led them to a corner table and promised to bring them the best food in the city. As they waited, Isabella watched Vincent interact with the other diners and staff. Everyone seemed to know him, and while there was definitely respect in their interactions, there was also genuine affection. "You're like royalty here," Isabella observed. "My family has been part of this neighborhood for 3 generations," Vincent said. "These are my people." As they ate homemade pasta and drank wine, Vincent told her stories about growing up in Little Italy, about the sense of community and tradition. He spoke about his grandmother who still made Sunday dinner for the entire extended family, about the businesses his family protected and supported. "It's not all darkness," he said. "Yes, there are parts of what we do that are difficult. But we also help people. We provide jobs, protection, stability. When the banks wouldn't lend to Italian families, we did. When the police wouldn't investigate crimes against our people, we did. Isabella found herself being drawn into his world, seeing it through his eyes. It was more complex than she had imagined, more nuanced than the black and white world of legal and illegal she was used to. After lunch, Vincent suggested a walk through the neighborhood. As they strolled, he pointed out various landmarks: the church where he was baptized, the bakery his family had helped establish, the community center they funded. They were passing a small park when a woman with 2 young children approached. She was clearly distressed, speaking rapidly in Italian. Vincent listened intently, then pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "It's handled," he told the woman in English. "Tony will be at your apartment in an hour to fix the heat. No charge." The woman nearly cried with relief, blessing Vincent repeatedly before hurrying off with her children. "Her landlord has been ignoring her requests for repairs," Vincent explained to Isabella. "Her kids have been sleeping in the cold for a week." "And you just fixed it?" Isabella asked. "The landlord owes me a favor," Vincent said simply. "Now he'll remember that keeping his tenants warm is good business." Isabella was beginning to understand the power Vincent wielded. It wasn't just about fear or violence. It was about connections, favors, and a complex web of obligations and loyalty. As they continued walking, a group of young men approached. Isabella tensed, sensing potential danger, but Vincent remained relaxed. The men greeted him respectfully, and he spoke with them briefly in Italian before they moved on. "Local kids," he explained. "They work for one of my cousins. Good boys. Just trying to make a living." "Doing what?" Isabella asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Vincent gave her a look. "Do you really want those details?" "No," Isabella admitted. "I guess I don't." As the afternoon wore on, Isabella found herself relaxing in Vincent's company. He was attentive and charming, with a quick wit and an unexpected gentleness. When a street vendor's cart accidentally knocked into Isabella, Vincent steadied her with a protective arm around her waist, and she found herself leaning into his touch. "This is dangerous," she said softly, as they stood close together on the sidewalk. "What is?" Vincent asked, though his knowing smile suggested he understood. "This. Us. I'm supposed to be smart, logical. I don't get involved with men like you." "Men like me," Vincent repeated. "And what kind of man am I?" Isabella looked up at him, seeing the challenge in his eyes. "The kind that could destroy my life." "Or protect it," Vincent said. "The kind who would never let anyone hurt you. The kind who sees how extraordinary you are and wants to give you the world." "I don't need the world," Isabella said. "I just need—" "What?" Vincent asked when she trailed off. "What do you need?" "I don't know," Isabella admitted. "That's what scares me. I've always known exactly what I wanted, where I was going. But with you, everything's uncertain." Vincent cupped her face gently with one hand. "Uncertainty isn't always bad, Bella. Sometimes the best things in life are the ones we don't plan." He was going to kiss her. Isabella could see it in his eyes, feel it in the way he drew her closer. And despite every rational thought in her head, she wanted him to. But just as his lips were about to touch hers, Vincent's phone rang. He cursed softly in Italian, but answered it. His expression darkened as he listened. "I have to go," he said after hanging up. "There's a situation that needs my attention." "Of course there is," Isabella said, stepping back. The spell was broken, reality crashing back in. Vincent drove her home in tense silence. When they reached her building, he turned to her. "I'm sorry," he said. "This isn't how I wanted today to end." "It's fine," Isabella said, though it wasn't. "This is your life, right? Business calls and you have to go handle situations." "Isabella." "No," she interrupted. This is what you were warning me about, the complications, I get it. She started to get out of the car, but Vincent caught her hand. Wait, he said. The charity auction is next weekend, the one from the gala. Come with me. Isabella looked at him in surprise. You want me to go to a public event with you? Won't that put a target on my back? Maybe, Vincent said honestly, but I want you there. I want people to know you're with me. It's a risk, but... He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. You're worth the risk. Isabella's heart skipped. I need to think about it. Fair enough, Vincent said, but Isabella, today meant something to me. You mean something to me. She got out of the car without responding, but as she watched him drive away, she knew she was in trouble. She was falling for Vincent Rossi, and she wasn't sure she could stop it. That night, she called her best friend Maria and told her everything. Maria listened in stunned silence as Isabella explained about Vincent, his family, and the growing attraction between them. Are you insane? Maria said when Isabella finished. He's in the Mafia, Bella. The actual Mafia. I know, Isabella said miserably. I know it's crazy, but when I'm with him... When you're with him, what? You forget he probably has people killed? He says they don't hurt innocents, Isabella said weakly. Oh, well, if the mob boss says so, Maria said sarcastically. Bella, you need to end this now, before you get in too deep. But as Isabella lay in bed that night, she knew it was already too late. She was already in too deep. The question now was what she was going to do about it. Isabella spent the week wrestling with her decision about the charity auction. Her logical mind listed all the reasons she should stay away from Vincent Rossi, her career, her safety, her moral compass. But her heart had other ideas. Every time her phone rang, she hoped it was him. Every black car on the street made her pulse quicken. On Thursday evening, as she was working late at the office, a delivery arrived. The security guard brought up a large box with no return address. Inside, Isabella found an elegant black evening gown that probably cost more than her monthly salary, along with a simple note. In case you decide to come, V. She held the dress up against herself, admiring the way the fabric caught the light. It was exactly her style. Classic, but with a modern edge. How did he know her taste so well? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The dress is just a gift, no obligations, but I hope to see you wearing it Saturday. Against her better judgment, Isabella saved the number under Vincent's name. Friday afternoon, her colleague Sarah cornered her again. So, are you going to tell me who this mystery man is? You've been glowing all week. Isabella hesitated. Sarah was persistent, but also trustworthy. If I tell you, you have to promise not to freak out. Oh God, is he married? Sarah asked. No, worse, Isabella said. His name is Vincent Rossi. Sarah's face went white. The Vincent Rossi? Are you out of your mind? Probably, Isabella admitted. But Sarah, he's not what I expected. He's intelligent and protective and he runs one of the most powerful crime families on the East Coast. Sarah interrupted. Isabella, this isn't some bad boy with a motorcycle. This is serious. I know, Isabella said quietly, but I can't seem to walk away. Sarah studied her friend's face. You're already in love with him, aren't you? I barely know him, Isabella protested. That's not what I asked. Isabella didn't answer, which was answer enough. Saturday arrived, and Isabella found herself getting ready for the auction. She had made her decision the moment she tried on the dress. It fit perfectly, of course. Vincent had probably had her sized up the moment they met. She was putting the finishing touches on her makeup when her doorbell rang. Vincent stood outside, looking devastatingly handsome in a black tuxedo. You came, he said, his eyes traveling over her appreciatively. You sound surprised, Isabella said. Hopeful, Vincent corrected. Never surprised. You're braver than most people I know. In the car, Isabella noticed they weren't alone. A second car followed them, and she could see the outline of at least 2 men inside. "Security," Vincent explained when he saw her looking. "I told you being with me comes with complications." "Are they always there?" Isabella asked. "When necessary," Vincent said. "Tonight, it's necessary." The auction was being held at the same hotel as the original gala, but the atmosphere was different. Isabella could feel the tension in the air as they entered. Conversations paused, heads turned, and whispers followed in their wake. "Everyone's staring," Isabella murmured. "Let them," Vincent said, placing a possessive hand on the small of her back. "They're curious about the woman who caught my attention." They made their way through the crowd, Vincent introducing her to various people. Isabella recognized some names from newspaper headlines: politicians, judges, business moguls. They all treated Vincent with a mixture of respect and wariness. Mr. Rossi, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, approached them. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." "Judge Morrison," Vincent acknowledged coolly. "Allow me to introduce Isabella Martinez. Isabella, Judge Morrison sits on the state Supreme Court." The judge's eyes widened slightly as he shook Isabella's hand. "Ms. Martinez, you're with Hartfield and Associates, aren't you? Fine firm." "You know my work?" Isabella asked, surprised. "I make it a point to know the rising stars in our legal community," the judge said, though his eyes flickered to Vincent as he spoke. After the judge moved on, Isabella turned to Vincent. "Did you have something to do with him knowing who I am?" "I might have mentioned your name in certain circles," Vincent admitted. "Your work on the Brennan case was impressive. You deserved recognition." "Vincent, I don't want success because of your influence." "You were already successful," Vincent interrupted. "I just made sure the right people noticed. There's a difference." Before Isabella could argue further, the auction began. They took their seats at a table near the front, joined by several other couples. Isabella recognized one of the women as the wife of a senator. As the evening progressed, Isabella began to understand the complex dynamics at play. The charity auction was a legitimate event, raising money for children's hospitals. But underneath the surface, deals were being made, alliances formed, power brokered. And Vincent was at the center of it all. 10,000. Vincent bid on a vacation package, doubling the previous bid without blinking. "You don't even want that," Isabella whispered. "The seller's daughter needs surgery," Vincent whispered back. "This way, he keeps his pride." Isabella watched him navigate the evening with a mixture of admiration and unease. He was powerful. There was no denying it. But he used that power in unexpected ways, helping as often as he intimidated. During a break in the auction, Isabella excused herself to use the ladies' room. She was touching up her lipstick when 2 women entered, gossiping loudly. "Can you believe Vincent Rossi is here with some nobody lawyer?" one said. "She must be incredibly naive or incredibly ambitious." "Maybe both," the other laughed. "Though I have to admit, she's prettier than his usual type. How long do you think before she realizes what she's gotten into?" Isabella's hands clenched around her lipstick. She wanted to confront them, but what would she say? That Vincent was different? That she knew exactly what she was doing? Neither was entirely true. When she returned to the table, Vincent immediately noticed her mood. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," Isabella said, but Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Isabella," he said quietly, "I told you I'd never lie to you. I expect the same courtesy." She sighed. "Just some women in the bathroom, talking about us. About me being naive or ambitious." Vincent's jaw tightened. "Who?" "It doesn't matter," Isabella said quickly. "They're probably right anyway." "What am I doing here, Vincent? I prosecute criminals, I don't date them." "Is that what I am to you? Just a criminal?" Isabella looked at him, seeing the flash of hurt in his eyes before he masked it. "I don't know what you are to me," she admitted. "That's the problem." Vincent was about to respond when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and cursed under his breath. "What is it?" Isabella asked. "Trouble," Vincent said. "I need to step out for a moment. Stay here, stay visible. Marco will be watching you." He indicated a large man standing near the wall who Isabella hadn't noticed before. "Vincent, what kind of trouble?" But he was already gone, moving through the crowd with purpose. Isabella sat alone at the table, feeling exposed and uncertain. The senator's wife leaned over. "The first rule of being with a man like Vincent Rossi," she said quietly, "is learning to be comfortable with not knowing everything." "Are you speaking from experience?" Isabella asked. The woman smiled sadly. "My husband has his own connections, dear. We all make our choices. The question is whether you can live with yours." 20 minutes passed before Vincent returned. His tuxedo was still immaculate, but Isabella noticed a slight tension in his shoulders, a hardness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. "We need to leave," he said quietly. "Is everything okay?" "It will be," Vincent said, which wasn't really an answer. They made their excuses and left, Vincent's hand firmly on Isabella's back as they navigated through the crowd. In the car, Isabella noticed they now had 2 security vehicles, one in front and one behind. "Are we in danger?" she asked. "No," Vincent said firmly. "This is just a precaution." "Vincent, what happened?" He was silent for a long moment, then said, "A business associate made a poor decision. It's been handled." "Handled how?" Vincent looked at her. "Do you really want to know?" Isabella considered this. Did she? Once she knew the details of Vincent's business, she couldn't unknow them. But wasn't willful ignorance just another form of complicity? "Yes," she said finally. "If I'm going to be with you, I need to understand what that means." Vincent studied her face, then nodded. "One of my people was selling information to a rival family. Tonight he tried to arrange a meeting here thinking I'd be distracted." "What happened to him?" "He's alive," Vincent said. "But he won't be selling information anymore." The casual way he said it sent chills down Isabella's spine. "You hurt him." "I protected my family," Vincent corrected. "In my world, betrayal has consequences. Everyone knows the rules." "And if he had succeeded? If this rival family had gotten whatever information they wanted?" Vincent's expression darkened. "Then people under my protection would have been hurt. Good people, innocent people. I don't allow that." They drove in silence for a while, Isabella processing this glimpse into Vincent's reality. When they reached her building, Vincent walked her to her door. "You're reconsidering," he said. It wasn't a question. "I'm thinking," Isabella admitted. "This is a lot to process." "I understand," Vincent said. "Take all the time you need. But Isabella, know this. I will never lie to you about who I am or what I do. But I will also never let that world touch you more than necessary." "Can you really keep them separate?" Isabella asked. "Your 2 worlds." "I've been doing it my whole life," Vincent said. "My mother never knew the details of my father's business. My sister lives a completely normal life. It's possible, but only if both people want it." Isabella looked up at him, seeing the vulnerability beneath his controlled exterior. "What do you want, Vincent?" "You," he said simply. "I want Sunday dinners and normal dates and conversations that have nothing to do with my family business. I want to wake up next to someone who sees me as more than just a name and a reputation. And if I can't give you that, then I'll respect your decision," Vincent said. "But I hope you can." He kissed her then, soft and gentle. Nothing like the passionate embrace Isabella had imagined. It was a kiss that asked for nothing, promised everything, and left her breathless. After he left, Isabella stood in her apartment, touching her lips where he had kissed her. She was standing at a crossroads. and she knew whatever decision she made would change her life forever. She called Maria, needing her friend's voice of reason. "He kissed you?" Maria said after Isabella recounted the evening. "And you're still considering this?" "He was honest with me," Isabella said. "Completely honest about what being with him means." "Bella, honey, honest criminals are still criminals." "I know," Isabella said. "But Maria, when I'm with him, I feel alive. Like I've been sleepwalking through life and he woke me up." "That's not love, that's adrenaline," Maria argued. "Maybe," Isabella admitted. "But what if it's both?" Maria sighed. "You've already made up your mind, haven't you?" "I don't know," Isabella said honestly. "I really don't know." She spent Sunday agonizing over her decision. She made lists of pros and cons, analyzed the situation from every angle, tried to apply logic to something that defied logical analysis. On Monday morning, she arrived at work to find a bouquet of white roses on her desk. The card simply said, "Whatever you decide." V. "Secret admirer?" Sarah asked, poking her head into Isabella's office. "Something like that," Isabella said. "Those are expensive roses," Sarah noted. "Your mystery man has good taste." If only she knew, Isabella thought. That afternoon, Isabella was reviewing contracts when her assistant knocked on her door. "Ms. Martinez, there's a Mrs. Rossi here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important." Isabella's heart stopped. "Mrs. Rossi?" "Sophia Rossi," her assistant clarified. Isabella's mind raced. Vincent's mother, his sister, some other relative. "Send her in," she said finally. The woman who entered was elegant and composed, probably in her early 60s, with steel gray hair and eyes that reminded Isabella sharply of Vincent's. "Ms. Martinez," she said, "I'm Vincent's mother. I believe we need to talk." Isabella stood, her professional composure automatic. "Mrs. Rossi, please have a seat." Sophia Rossi sat gracefully, her designer handbag placed precisely on her lap. "I'll be direct, Ms. Martinez. My son is quite taken with you." "Mrs. Rossi?" "Please, let me finish," Sophia interrupted gently. "Vincent is my youngest son. He's also the most like his father, brilliant, driven, and completely devoted to those he cares about. He's mentioned you several times, which is unusual. Vincent doesn't typically discuss his personal life with me." Isabella wasn't sure how to respond to this. "I came here to see for myself what kind of woman caught my son's attention," Sophia continued. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" Isabella asked. "Someone harder," Sophia said honestly. "Someone already part of our world. The fact that you're not, it gives me hope and concerns me in equal measure." "I don't understand," Isabella said. Sophia leaned forward slightly. "My son carries heavy burdens, Ms. Martinez. The family business, as they call it, weighs on him in ways he'll never admit. He needs someone who can give him peace, a refuge from that world. But that someone needs to be strong enough to handle the reality of what he is." "Are you warning me off?" Isabella asked. "No," Sophia said. "I'm trying to determine if you're strong enough to love my son. Because make no mistake, if you choose him, it needs to be completely. Half measures will destroy you both." Isabella met the older woman's steady gaze. "I'm still trying to figure out if I can accept what he does." "What he does and who he is are two different things," Sophia said. "I've been married to a Rossi man for 40 years. I know the difference. The question is whether you can learn it." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "Think carefully, Ms. Martinez. My son doesn't give his heart easily. If you're not prepared to protect it, walk away now." After Sophia left, Isabella sat at her desk, shaking. The visit had shaken her more than any of Vincent's warnings. This was a mother protecting her son, seeing Isabella as either his salvation or his destruction. That evening, Isabella's phone rang. Vincent. My mother visited you, he said without preamble. I apologize. She shouldn't have. She's protective of you, Isabella interrupted. I respect that. Vincent was quiet for a moment. What did she say? That I need to decide if I'm strong enough to love you, Isabella said honestly. And what did you tell her? That I'm still figuring it out, Isabella said. Vincent, I need to ask you something. Anything. Could you ever leave? The family business, I mean. Could you ever just walk away? The silence stretched so long Isabella thought he might have hung up. No, he said finally. I could never leave. This is my family, my responsibility. I was born into this, and I'll die in it. I can promise to keep you safe from it as much as possible, but I can't promise to leave it. I won't lie to you about that. Isabella closed her eyes. Thank you for being honest. It's all I can give you, Vincent said. That and my word that I'll do everything in my power to make you happy if you choose this. After they hung up, Isabella made her decision. It wasn't logical or safe or smart, but love rarely was. She texted Vincent. Pick me up Friday night. Let's have that normal date you talked about. His response was immediate. 7 p.m. casual dress, and Isabella, thank you. Isabella looked out her office window at the city lights below. She was about to enter a world she didn't fully understand, with a man who lived by rules she didn't agree with. It was insane. But for the first time in her carefully planned life, Isabella was ready to take a leap of faith. Friday evening arrived with unseasonable warmth for autumn. Isabella chose a simple sundress and sandals, taking Vincent at his word about casual dress. When he arrived, she was pleased to see he had done the same, wearing jeans and a polo shirt that made him look younger and more relaxed. No security? She asked, noticing the absence of the usual second car. There, Vincent said. Just being more discreet. I wanted tonight to feel normal. He drove them out of the city to a small coastal town about an hour away. The restaurant he chose was a tiny seafood place right on the water, with plastic tablecloths and paper napkins. It was the last place Isabella would have expected Vincent Rossi to dine. I used to come here with my grandfather when I was a kid, Vincent explained as they sat on the deck, watching the sunset over the water. Before everything got complicated, it was just us, fishing rods, and the best fried clams on the East Coast. It's perfect, Isabella said, meaning it. They talked about everything and nothing. Books they'd read, places they wanted to travel, childhood memories. Vincent told her about getting lost in the Metropolitan Museum as a child and developing a love for art. Isabella shared stories about her parents, how they had worked multiple jobs to pay for her education. They would have liked you, she said without thinking, then blushed. I mean, I would have been honored to meet them, Vincent said softly. They raised an extraordinary daughter. For a few hours, Isabella could almost forget who Vincent was, what he did. He was just a man who made her laugh, who listened intently when she spoke, who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. As they walked along the beach after dinner, Vincent took her hand. I want to show you something. He led her to a small cove where a bench overlooked the water. My grandfather proposed to my grandmother here, he said. 60 years ago. He was nobody then, just a kid with big dreams and dangerous ideas. And she said yes? Isabella asked. She said yes, Vincent confirmed, even though she knew what he was planning to become. She loved him enough to take the risk. Isabella understood what he was really saying. Vincent, I'm not proposing, he said quickly, then smiled. Not yet. I just wanted you to understand. This isn't just attraction for me, Isabella. This isn't just another conquest. My family, we love once, completely, forever. That's a lot of pressure for a third date. Isabella said, trying to lighten the mood. Fourth, Vincent corrected, if you count the charity gala. I was trying not to, Isabella laughed. They stood there watching the moonlight on the water, and Isabella felt a peace she hadn't experienced in years. Maybe Sophia Rossi was right. Maybe she could learn to separate what Vincent did from who he was. The drive back to the city was quiet, comfortable. Isabella found herself wishing the night didn't have to end. As they neared her neighborhood, Vincent's phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. I need to take this, he said apologetically. The conversation was in rapid Italian, but Isabella could tell from Vincent's tone that something was wrong. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. When he hung up, his face was grim. I need to drop you off and handle something. What happened? There was an incident at one of our restaurants. Someone was hurt. Who? Isabella asked, then realized she was already thinking like part of his world. Is it serious? One of my cousins, Vincent said. And yes, it's serious. This was a message. From who? Vincent glanced at her. The same family that tried to buy information at the auction. The Morettis. They're trying to move into our territory. He pulled up to her building and turned to her. Isabella, things might get complicated for a while. If you want to step back, I understand. Are you in danger? She asked. I'm always in danger, Vincent said matter-of-factly. But this is more immediate than usual. Isabella made a decision that surprised them both. Take me with you. What? To the hospital. Your cousin is hurt. Your family is gathering. Take me with you. Isabella, no. That's not... If I'm going to be part of your life, I can't just be there for the moonlight walks and beach dinners, Isabella said. I need to see all of it. Vincent stared at her for a long moment. You don't know what you're asking. Then show me, Isabella challenged. Vincent made a call in Italian, then pulled away from the curb. Stay close to me when we get there. Don't speak unless spoken to. And if I tell you to leave, you leave immediately. Understood? Understood, Isabella agreed. The hospital was chaos when they arrived. The waiting room was full of people Isabella recognized from Little Italy. The restaurant owner who'd served them lunch, the woman with children Vincent had helped, dozens of others. They all stood when Vincent entered. He spoke rapidly in Italian, his authority absolute. People nodded, dispersed, made calls. Isabella stayed by his side, watching him transform from the gentle man on the beach to the leader these people looked to. Vincent. An older man approached, his face grave. It's bad. They shot him 3 times. The doctors are operating now. Where's Uncle Tony? Vincent asked. On his way back from Florida. He'll be here by morning. Security? Already in place. Every entrance, every floor. The Morettis won't get close. Vincent nodded, then seemed to remember Isabella. This is Isabella Martinez, he said in English. She's with me? The older man's eyebrows raised, but he nodded respectfully. Miss Martinez. Vincent led her to a quieter corner of the waiting room. You can still leave, he said quietly. No one would blame you. I'm not going anywhere, Isabella said firmly. Hours passed. Vincent moved constantly between groups, coordinating, planning, reassuring. Isabella watched him work, saw the burden of leadership he carried. Young men looked to him for guidance. Older ones offered counsel. Women brought food, coffee, comfort. Around 3 a.m., Sophia Rossi arrived. She looked at Isabella with surprise but said nothing, going straight to her son. They spoke quietly in Italian, and Isabella saw Vincent's shoulders relax slightly at his mother's presence. He's asking for you, someone said, and Vincent stood immediately. Come with me, he said to Isabella. She followed him through corridors to the ICU. The young man in the bed looked barely out of his teens, pale and fragile among the machines. "Cousin," he whispered when he saw Vincent. Vincent took his hand, speaking softly in Italian. Isabella didn't understand the words, but she understood the emotion, reassurance, affection, promise of vengeance. When they left the room, Vincent's expression was carved from stone. "What happens now?" Isabella asked. "Now we respond," Vincent said. "The Morettis think we're weak, that they can attack us without consequences. They're wrong." "Vincent." "Not here," he said quietly. "Too many ears." They returned to the waiting room to find it even fuller. A man Isabella recognized from the newspapers, Vincent's uncle, the official head of the family, had arrived. Antonio Rossi was in his 70s, but still commanded the room. His eyes found Vincent immediately, then moved to Isabella with sharp assessment. "Uncle," Vincent said formally, "this is—" "I know who she is," Antonio interrupted. He studied Isabella. "You're the lawyer, the one my nephew is so taken with." "Yes, sir," Isabella said, not sure what else to say. "Do you know what you're getting into, young lady?" "I'm beginning to understand," Isabella said honestly. Antonio nodded slowly. "Good. Understanding is important." He turned to Vincent. "We need to discuss our response, family only." It was a dismissal, but Vincent shook his head. "She stays." The room went silent. Challenging Antonio Rossi wasn't done lightly, not even by family. "Vincent," Antonio said warningly, "if she's going to be my wife, she needs to understand our world," Vincent said calmly. Isabella's breath caught. Wife? They'd had 4 dates, but she understood this was Vincent's way of publicly claiming her, protecting her. Antonio studied them both, then nodded. "Very well, but she says nothing of what she hears. Ever." "I understand," Isabella said. What followed was a war council. Isabella sat silently as the Rossi family planned their retaliation. It was surgical, precise, designed to send a message without starting an all-out war. She watched Vincent argue for restraint while younger members called for blood. She saw him balance violence with strategy, emotion with calculation. By dawn, decisions had been made. The Morettis would lose 2 of their businesses to accidents. 3 of their key people would be convinced to switch sides. And the man who had ordered the shooting would receive a very personal message. "No innocents get hurt," Vincent insisted. "No families, no bystanders. We're not them." As the meeting broke up, Antonio approached Isabella. "You did well," he said. "You listened, you learned, you didn't flinch. Maybe you're stronger than you look." "Thank you," Isabella said, not sure if it was a compliment. Vincent drove her home as the sun rose over the city. They were both exhausted, running on adrenaline and coffee. "Say it," Vincent said as they neared her building. "Say what?" "Whatever you're thinking. You've been quiet since we left the hospital." Isabella considered her words carefully. "I watched you plan violence tonight, calculated, strategic violence, and the scariest part is—" "I understood why. That boy in the hospital bed, he's family. Someone hurt him to send a message. Of course you have to respond." "But," Vincent prompted, "but I also saw you hold back the worst impulses. You protected innocence. You chose precision over brutality. You're not the monster the world thinks you are, but you're not innocent either." "No," Vincent agreed. "I'm not innocent. I never will be. The question is whether you can live with that." Isabella looked at him, exhausted and vulnerable in the morning light. "The question is whether I can live without you," she said quietly. "And I'm starting to think I can't." Vincent pulled over and kissed her, hard and desperate. When they broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "I love you," he said simply. "I know it's too soon. I know it's insane, but I love you. Vincent. You don't have to say it back, he interrupted. I just needed you to know. Whatever happens with the Morettis, whatever comes next, I love you. Isabella touched his face gently. I know, she said. Take me home. You need sleep before whatever comes next. Over the following weeks, Isabella watched the Rossi retaliation unfold in the newspapers. A warehouse fire here, a labor dispute there. 3 mid-level Moretti associates were arrested on unrelated charges. The man who had ordered the shooting disappeared entirely. Vincent's cousin recovered slowly, but fully. The Morettis retreated, message received, and Isabella found herself deeper in Vincent's world than she had ever imagined. She attended Sunday dinners at Sophia Rossi's house, where Vincent was just another son, teased by his siblings and doted on by his mother. She learned to cook traditional Italian dishes from his grandmother, who spoke no English but somehow communicated perfectly through food and gestures. Her own life became complicated. Her boss called her in one day, his expression concerned. Isabella, there are rumors about you and Vincent Rossi, he said carefully. I need to know if they're true. We're dating, Isabella said simply. Her boss sighed. That puts the firm in a difficult position. We can't be seen as connected to that element. I've never mixed my personal and professional life, Isabella said firmly. My work speaks for itself. Your work is excellent, her boss agreed. But perception matters. Some clients might be uncomfortable. Isabella understood the subtext. Choose Vincent or your career. I understand, she said. I'll be careful. But careful wasn't always possible. One evening, Isabella was leaving the office when she noticed a man following her. Her heart pounded as she remembered Vincent's warnings about being a target. She called Vincent immediately. Black sedan, license starts with K7, she said quietly. Following me for 3 blocks. Where are you? Vincent's voice was deadly calm. She told him. Turn left at the next corner. Marco's in a coffee shop there. Go inside, order something, act normal. Isabella followed his instructions, recognizing Vincent's bodyguard as soon as she entered. Marco nodded slightly, then spoke into his phone. Within minutes, the black sedan was gone. It was Moretti's people, Vincent told her later. Testing our defenses, seeing how well protected you are. Am I in danger? Isabella asked. No, Vincent said firmly. They got their answer. You're untouchable. But the incident shook Isabella. This was the reality of being with Vincent. Constant vigilance, potential threats, living with a target on her back. I can't lose you, Vincent said, reading her thoughts. If you need to walk away, stop offering me an out, Isabella interrupted. I'm not going anywhere. 3 months into their relationship, Vincent took Isabella to meet Antonio formally. The old man's house was a fortress, elegant but secure. They had dinner in a dining room that had hosted judges, politicians, and criminals in equal measure. My nephew wants to marry you, Antonio said over dessert, his directness startling. Uncle, Vincent warned. What? It's true, Antonio said. The whole family knows. The question is whether Ms. Martinez wants to marry into this family. Isabella met his gaze steadily. With respect, Mr. Rossi, that's between Vincent and me. Antonio smiled, the first genuine warmth she'd seen from him. Good answer. You'll need that spine in this family. He turned to Vincent. She'll do. Later, walking in Antonio's garden, Vincent took Isabella's hand. He's right, you know, about wanting to marry you. Vincent, we've only been together 3 months. My parents got engaged after 6 weeks, Vincent said. When you know, you know. Your mother warned me about half measures, Isabella said. Said they'd destroy us both. My mother is a wise woman, Vincent agreed. So what do you say? All in or all out? Isabella looked at him. This complex man who ran a criminal empire but held her like she was precious, who ordered violence but protected innocence, who could be ruthless and tender in the same breath. "All in," she whispered. Vincent pulled out a ring, a stunning vintage piece with a center diamond surrounded by smaller stones. "It was my grandmother's," he said. "She wore it for 60 years. Will you wear it for the next 60? "Yes," Isabella said, not hesitating. "Yes, Vincent." He slipped the ring on her finger, and Isabella felt the weight of it, not just the gold and diamonds, but the history, the commitment, the choice she was making. "There's one more thing," Vincent said. "The life you have now, your career, it might become impossible. The district attorney won't keep someone married to me on staff. Your colleagues will distance themselves. You'll be Mrs. Vincent Rossi before you're anything else." "I know," Isabella said. "I've already started getting freelance work, contract law for private clients. I can build something new." "I'm sorry," Vincent said. "You shouldn't have to sacrifice." "It's not a sacrifice," Isabella interrupted. "It's a choice, my choice. I choose you, Vincent. All of you, all of this. The family dinners and the bodyguards, the tradition and the danger. I choose it all." Vincent kissed her in the garden, under stars that didn't care about laws or morality or the complications of loving someone the world said she shouldn't. 6 months later, they married in the same church where Vincent had been baptized. The guest list was a careful balance of both their worlds: Isabella's friends from law school sitting across from men with criminal records, judges sharing pews with people they'd sentenced, FBI agents there to pay respects and take photographs for their files. Isabella walked down the aisle in her mother's wedding dress, altered to fit but carrying the love of the parents who would have been horrified and proud in equal measure. Vincent waited at the altar, looking at her like she was his salvation and his redemption all at once. "Do you, Isabella Martinez, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" the priest asked. Isabella looked at Vincent, at the life she was choosing, at the man who had shown her that love didn't always follow rules. "I do," she said clearly. As they kissed to seal their union, Isabella knew their life wouldn't be easy. There would be danger and moral compromises, late-night phone calls, and constant security. She would be judged for her choice, excluded from the professional world she'd worked so hard to enter. But there would also be love. Fierce, protective, all-consuming love. There would be family, tradition, belonging to something larger than herself. There would be Vincent, who looked at her like she was his whole world and would move heaven and earth to keep her safe. Outside the church, as rice rained down and photographers captured their joy, a reporter shouted a question. "Ms. Martinez, how does it feel to marry into the mob?" Isabella smiled, her hand in Vincent's. "It's Mrs. Rossi," she corrected, "and it feels like coming home." As their car pulled away, Vincent raised their joined hands to his lips. "No regrets?" "No regrets," Isabella confirmed. "Though you might have mentioned the whole mob boss thing when you first asked me out." Vincent laughed. "Would you have said yes?" "Probably not," Isabella admitted. "Good thing you waited until I was already falling for you." "Strategic timing," Vincent agreed. "I learned from the best." "Your uncle?" "My mother," Vincent said. "She always said the secret to a good marriage is knowing when to share information and when to let love lead the way." As they drove through the city that would always be their kingdom and their cage, Isabella leaned against her husband's shoulder. She had chosen love over logic, passion over safety, a complicated man over an uncomplicated life. And despite everything, or perhaps because of it, she knew she had chosen right. Their story wouldn't end with the wedding. There would be challenges ahead, tests of their love and loyalty. But Isabella Martinez, Isabella Rossi now, had made her choice. She had looked past what Vincent did to see who he was. She had found the man beneath the monster the world saw. In the crowd outside the church, watching the newlyweds drive away, Sophia Rossi wiped away a tear. Her son had found what she had always hoped for him, someone strong enough to love him completely, brave enough to join their complicated family, wise enough to see the man behind the reputation. "She'll be good for him," Antonio said beside her. "They'll be good for each other," Sophia corrected. Love has a way of changing everything. As the car disappeared into the city traffic, the various guests dispersed. The FBI agents went to file their reports. The crime families went to discuss this new alliance. The lawyers went to gossip about their former colleague's shocking choice. But in the back of a bulletproof car, surrounded by security and heading toward an uncertain future, Vincent and Isabella Rossi were simply two people in love, ready to face whatever came next together. The Mafia boss had found his match, and against all odds, she had chosen to be his.